Did anything surprise you in this research? I mean, some of you are very involved in this stuff on a day-to-day basis. Some of you are tangentially involved. Is there anything in this research you said, wow, that was a new piece of information, or it surprised me a little bit? Anybody on the panel want to address it?
Well, I think what's surprising about it is that there's nothing really surprising about it. You know, I've lived here for, I guess, 15 years, or since 1995. And the same subjects get discussed, the same challenges get discussed, the same issue gets discussed, and it's either that as a community we're really not comfortable in our own skin and want to break free somehow, or that we really feel like if we just talk about it long enough we're going to discover this hidden aha in the research. But ultimately, you know, I hire a lot of 30-year-olds who are moving back from Atlanta or Chicago or New York, and it's exactly this. It's I went away, I went to college, and now I'm just about to have kids, and I want to get back to my family. I want to get back to the day trips. I want to get back to the community. So, you know, my take on it is it's surprising that it isn't surprising that it's the same thing. We keep reconfirming our same assets. So
it's surprising to me because many of us have this perception that we haven't really branded ourselves well to the people who live here. What this tells me, if this is accurate, I'm not sure what your sampling was, tells me that that is an incorrect perception. But I don't hear that when I'm on the plane traveling to someplace and people ask others of my colleagues from the city about where were you born? I was born in Rochester. Oh, that's the place that it's very cold. Isn't it very cold up there? And I don't hear somebody saying, well, but you know, Seattle has rain every day. In Minneapolis, the temperature in the winter is very much below zero. But let me tell you about Rochester, and let me tell you about the things that came out in this survey. And I don't really hear that. And perhaps when we're doing a survey on a local level, people will tell you what they really believe, but for some reason that has not manifested itself when we're talking to people who are not familiar with Rochester. So I'm not sure we've really branded ourselves well enough to allow for that pride in where we live.
I've heard it speculation sometimes that people that we've almost had it too good in Rochester, and that for people to, like, what I hear is that people in Buffalo have a much higher degree of civic pride than they do in Rochester, for example. And some of that is tied back to a lot of the challenges that Buffalo has had, which have been deeper in many ways than some of the challenges we've had to face here in Rochester. So you almost get that bunker mentality that, you know, we're all this together and you better not say anything about me because, or about, you know, my neighborhood, because we're all coming after you if you do. And, you know, I've had the same experience as Carl described, where I've been on a plane and someone makes a Rochesterian makes that comment about, you know, it's a crowded place. Literally happened. It's a crowded plane, and people are getting on the plane, and somebody says, "Boy, whoever thought so many people would want to go back to Rochester?" Because we were on our way back to Rochester from Chicago or someplace, and I was chagrined by the woman who was sitting in a row in front of me, who actually did turn around. It was the first time I've ever had this part of the equation happen before, and say, "Actually, we love Rochester. We would never want to live anyplace else." And I felt like, you go, girl. That was that was just great. So, I mean, I think there's not enough of that goes on in this community.
I just want to echo what Todd said, because I feel that as well, that not only Buffalo but Cleveland, or you think of any communities where they've gotten so beat up, and so they come together with this civic pride. And I remember when, I think it was Janet Wong, the woman from Globe and Mail, wrote a scathing letter about Rochester. That's the first time that I really saw in the media then people writing letters in support. I mean, it really brought us together. And I've lived here for almost 20 years, and that's the first time that I've really seen, because we were getting beaten up for once, somebody came to our defense.
Well, you know, it's interesting to me. I actually grew up here but was away most of my adult life, 27 years. I just moved back 6 years ago. And it's fascinating to me because when I left, Kodak was kind of in its heyday. I was 60,000 employees, and I was in a Boy Scout troop that was sponsored by Kodak, and they sent me for free to all these places and did all this stuff, and everybody belonged to country clubs, and everything was wonderful, and at the time there was Sibley's and McCurdy's in Midtown Plaza, and I think part of it is a lot of people remember that, and they think, well, compared to then. And I think that's the other thing, too. We've got vibrant parts of downtown. Think about the East End, or think about this area right here. I think that's pretty vibrant, but I think people remember that one spot where they were growing up where it was vibrant, and they want that to be vibrant again. So I can't help but think that part of it is that people just look back 20, 30 years, people that have been around for a while, but in the survey, a lot of people have, and they say, oh, woe is us. We're not what we were then. No, we're not, but in many ways we're better, and we have other things, but you're looking back and saying, I remember when. Other comments?
Yeah, I have to say one of my reactions to the survey is that if I'm a 20-something, I'm going to run as fast as I can away from this town. And frankly, I was one of those. And I couldn't wait to get out, and it's for a lot of the same reasons that you see on the list. And so we also bemoan the fact that we're losing a lot of our young people here that are coming out of colleges and universities and the like. And so, we have this concept in mind that we've got to try and find ways to keep young people, and the phrase that continually comes up is you got to have jobs. I mean, if you don't have jobs, you can't keep people. And so that's kind of taken as a given. But maybe the community, in some regard, ought to consider releasing that, and that we're not going to compete with these huge, sexy cities, Boston and New York and Atlanta and the like, and we're going to lose our young people, and some of them will never come back. And maybe part of the branding conversation ought to be about whether we should release that to some degree. Now, if we've got fast-growing businesses and new sectors, we're going to have to find talent to fill those slots. But in that case, you've got jobs that are getting created, so you're going to keep good people. But maybe part of our branding discussion ought to be on whether or not we just brand ourselves as a family town and just give up on this notion that we've got to try and somehow compete with Boston, because it's a pretty tough go. In some respects. When you want a more livable life, it becomes much easier to compete with communities like that, because you get a heck of a lot of bang for your buck in this town. And we all know that's why we're all here.
I'm not sure we're a progressive town. I guess I've been here 12 years. I came this 1995 as well, and fell in love with it here. It didn't particularly care for it in my 3-day final interview when I was staying at. Oh my gosh, my wife and I were staying at what used to be the Holiday Inn or the whatever the hotel, 3-4 generations ago. And we walked around downtown, and we went, okay, well, it's not Boston. I was coming from California to here, and it was a national search, and I was coming for a job interview. And of course, like most of us who were transplants, over the first week or two, and we finally moved here, we realized how extraordinary a community it is. But it's a very traditional town, and its art forms are very traditional. And I would never use the word conservative, because that gets into other kinds of values. But it really is, and I'm not sure it's a progressive town. Nonetheless, I don't think we can just say we have a great quality of life and it's great for families, and, well, we could be in a lot of places like that. There are a lot of places in America that are great places to live. I think we go deeper than that, and we're certainly in a transition from the heyday and remember that book, Smugtown? I mean, it really, where everything, we didn't want anyone to know about Rochester, and to a time where we do have to rebrand ourselves in a kind of vibrant way, and I do believe it's because of the people. Everyone sitting in this room has an interest in change, in something new. So I do think we need to put our finger on something that sets us apart. I don't believe we can just say we're great for families and we're great because I'm not sure how compelling that ultimately is. But we have tremendous brain power here. Tremendous brain power. That's why most of you come to Jiva, is because you're very smart. And, well, it's true.
It's a proof point,
and
right?
we are, and culturally, we have more season ticket holders than any other mid-sized city in the country. I mean, Jiva has more season ticket holders, has a larger attendance, than any other mid-size theater in the country. And I'm sure it's the same way with these other museums. So I think that's where it is the people. We have to somehow harness the fact that you're going to be, if you come here and if you live here, you're going to be stimulated by the brain power here, by the people, by the imagination and the kind of drive.